Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Real Talk. Okay, now here with episode 3, we're here with Mike Milano. I'm Ethan McKellar, and we're really excited to be today's episode as we're going to chat with Grant Harrison Mateo, who is a stunt actor, who is a film actor. He hasn't only been in my film, The Letter, but he's also was in Mean Girls, the musical movie that came out this winter and just a couple weeks ago, which is nuts. So we're really excited to have him on. But Mike, let's start off with recommendations. I want you to start with yours. What do you got for us?
Sure. Not gonna lie, old one. Me and my mom watched it yesterday, actually, for the first time, probably in a long time. It's a personal favorite of my mom's too. The movie is called Heat. Now, I'm sure a lot of our viewers probably have seen it. Al Pacino stars in it, along with Robert De Niro and Val Kilmer. And basically, for viewers that don't know, it just has to do with Al Pacino plays a detective, Robert De Niro plays basically like a bank robber, and the movie's just Robert De Niro going around doing illegal things while Al Pacino tries to stop him. Um, if any of our viewers are into video games, it's kind of like GTA 5 in my opinion. Similar things happen in GTA 5, which happen in the movie also. But other than that, I'm on season 5 now of Ray Donovan. I know I've said it before on the podcast, but I recommend people watching that if they're into that type of thing. And I'm very excited for our guest today, Grant. He seems like a very interesting person, and I can't wait to get to talk to him.
Yeah. So my recommendation for this week is I just finished a movie last night called Blackberry, which is essentially a film about the creation of BlackBerry,
Wow.
the company, and it's really good, Mike. You would love it. I think it's really super like drama. It's like business,
Mhm.
type vibe. It reminds you a lot. It's shot like Succession, which is a lot of fun for those who know that show, and yeah, it's just a really amazing acting, really amazing, better story than I thought. That you could tell that it's more of a, I don't want to say indie film, but it's definitely not your big budget Hollywood film. But I think they accomplished it really well. And yeah, it was a great film. And they actually took the film, and with 16 minutes of additional footage, they
Mhm.
then scattered that throughout and made a mini series of like 3 to 4 episodes. So this,
Nice.
yeah, it's really cool. It's like, so if you don't want to watch the film, you could watch the miniseries, or you could obviously just watch the film.
Right.
But that's our recommendations for this week. We're now going to head into our interview with Grant. I know this guest personally, just like last week. I've worked with him, um, and he is not only a great actor, but also a great collaborator, always willing to step in and offer for help and things like that, including coming on our podcast. So let's welcome Grant Harrison Mateo, who is a actor here in New York City. Grant, welcome. How you doing today? It's a Sunday. What's going on?
Hi, it's good to be here. I'm doing great. Just woke up not too long ago,
Yeah.
but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Cool, cool. Okay, so Grant and I, just for the connection with F14, everyone, Grant and I knows each other because we did a project. It was technically started as a school project called The Letter, and it was shot on, um, oh God, it was shot on film with a Bolex camera, which is super exciting. And the story was essentially, it's on YouTube. So unlike the ensemble with Maria last week, we can actually talk about it and spoilers because people have seen it, hopefully. But essentially, Grant is writing a letter, and you find out that it's to like an ex, somebody he's trying to get back to, and there's a huge kind of upset at the end where he obviously doesn't end up. Well, someone else ends up with the girl at the end. So Grant, I guess my first question for you is: we kind of asked this to everyone outside of F14, outside of the letter. For you as an actor, as a person, what made you want to be an actor? Did you always want to be an actor? Take us back to the beginning.
All right, so I think there's always been that underlying like knowledge and like just me knowing that I wanted to pursue acting. But up until probably like my freshman year of high school, it's been kind of in the air because, well, what happened was I used to live in Florida, and when I moved from Florida to Maryland, my that was the first time I was at a school that did like productions. So I did their spring musical in eighth grade. It was Beauty and the Beast, and that was Lumiere, and I was like, wow, this is really fun. And then rolling into high school, I was like, all right, I'll do shows here, see how much I like it. And I loved it. And so that summer, I did a theater intensive at this place called BAA. There's like Broadway Artists Alliance. And they had a showcase. And from that showcase, I got myself an agent. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. We'll see where this rolls. And since my freshman year of high school, I have been professionally acting.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I guess I didn't know that you had a musical theater. So you can sing as well, or could you consider yourself a musical theater actor, or no? More so.
I very much miss the stage, and I think I would like to do it at some point in my career. Um, but my singing skills are a little rusty right now. But I'm working on 'em. I'm working on
Yeah,
them.
I hear you.
I'm right there with you too, Grant. Singing is not my strong part, but maybe one day I'll get better too. And you're talking about Florida. What part of Florida did you grow up in?
So I lived in Ormond Beach, which is near Daytona Beach. They're
Oh,
like
nice.
right next to each other. Yeah, I lived there for like 8 years.
Oh, cool. Man, I wish I could be in Florida right now because the weather back home, this weather, it's like 30 degrees back home. And
Yeah.
my dad was watching the news earlier when I was coming down, and he looked at the Keys. It was like 75 degrees. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But anyway, so you were saying how you two know each other. So, like, how did you join F14?
So I joined F14 by I submitted myself to the film and screen study students like student auditions. Um, I uploaded a self tape there because I wasn't able to make any of the in person audition dates, and then Ethan, my bad, e names. I know a lot. So then Ethan emailed me and he was like, "Hey, I saw your tape. I would like you to be a part of my short film." And I looked at it and I was like, absolutely, because it was a film project, and that's the first time I've ever worked with like film as a medium, and I
Right.
was so excited. I was so excited.
Yeah, it
Ah,
was it was definitely an interesting experience shooting on film, and I needed someone who was like just willing to kind of go with the project. And I remember that being like the first thing, just like emphasizing, there's no real dialogue, but it requires someone who's willing to kind of like act with their face and stuff like that. So it was a great choice to have Grant involved. So I wanted to also ask about shooting on film. You've obviously, as you said, you've shot, professionally before. You've shot different projects digitally. What about shooting on film, especially 60 millimeter film with like a wind up thing? How was that different than shooting, professionally? What were the challenges that you faced with that?
I thought it was a blast. I thought it was amazing because I think the great thing about shooting on film is that you can't really watch it back. So I mean, you're kind of forced to be present. I mean, at least from the acting standpoint, you're very forced to be in the moment rather than worrying about like the details of what you did and when. So I really liked that aspect of it because it felt more like a performance from me, and I enjoy performing. Um, and I think it's also I like films like when you make a film and you have to work for it a little more. I enjoy that because it really shows a lot of like effort and determination, and just having that in like an environment is very much a plus for me. I like to be surrounded by hardworking people.
definitely. I could definitely agree with that too. Um, so, what's something you're proud of with the letter, and what's something you hope people take away from the project?
Something I'm proud of. I mean, there's just so much, but I think my favorite thing was the running sequence.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that's like half the movie, but I just really loved it because I remember running down the street and just like laughing because it was just so fun to shoot, and I think it just looks great. And so like I'm just very proud of like how much fun it was to make something like this. Um, what I hope people will take away. Kind of along the lines of what Ethan was saying, like just like the physical acting of it, because it's
Right.
very, I mean, because there is no dialogue, it is entirely dependent on like my physicality. So I hope people see it and they're like, wow, he can really, he can move, he doesn't need to say much. He can be a man of few words. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, I just hope they see it and they enjoy the
Yeah.
performance I put on.
I don't. Sorry, Ethan. I just want to say one more thing because you said it was no dialogue. Do you think theater helped you with filming the letter since there was no dialogue?
Hmm. I mean, it's hard to say that any of my background doesn't help because I mean,
Right.
I think every single thing that I've done in the past always influences what I do now. So I mean, I would say definitely there are some aspects that do. Um, but I think a lot of the time where I did most of my silent acting is I used to make like TikTok sketches back in the day, back during like quarantine and stuff like that. And I mean, before that's like when you use like audios and stuff like that, so you don't really say much, but I think that's probably where I did a lot, most of my silent acting. So yeah, it's just an accumulation of experiences that helped me out with that.
Yeah, for sure. I also wonder, kind of like we were shooting very run and gun too, which is also kind of fun. So like your adaptability was really good. I would love to like hear about, me and you kind of talking about working with the director about being adaptable, kind of in the moment. There were a lot of things that I had to trust you on running through the streets, and you had to trust me with the vision of why it was so dramatic. And I think that trust is kind of what made it work. I would love to hear about like um, your kind of thought process about working with a director. Any director, doesn't have to be me, and why it's important to kind of like trust that process.
I think it's incredibly important to trust the director you work with because I know at least from the acting standpoint, um, if you are worried about production, that can heavily influence your performance. Because if you think, oh man, this isn't going to turn out well, then it's like, why should I give it my all or something like that? I mean, that's a terrible mindset to have. You should always give it your all. But I can see how that would influence someone's performance. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd seen that you had like prior works established. I mean, there was really, and you had a very well oiled team that you were working with. There was no reason for me not to trust um, production. But yeah, it's very important because when you're collaborating with people, especially, like you have to realize where you fit within the machine because if you try to fit elsewhere in a place that you're like not wanted, that can be too many cooks in the kitchen and like butting heads on creative differences, and that just uh, it makes things a little bit harder to work with. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
important to recognize the roles.
yeah, for sure. I love that kind of metaphor that you use. I've heard like that metaphor that like don't kind of be where you don't belong, but I've never you taken it a step further, kind of being like why? Because if you were in a wrong place, it could like screw up the machine or whatever the metaphor, like so. I love that mindset. Michael, I know you want to ask something.
Yeah. So we're talking about the letter, but let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your experience with filming Mean Girls.
Mean Girls, yeah, that was. I mean, I haven't worked on too many movie sets, but that was a super fun time because I think it was interesting working around like mostly people like within my age range because
Yeah.
it's a teen movie. So I was there on set for it's like 7 or 8 days, and I think it was really special because that was the first time I was on a set where I was there long enough to like actually socialize and make friends. Because I'm a rather shy person when I'm first introduced to a group, so it takes me a second to warm up to people. But I mean, the people on that set were just super nice. Like my first day there, I was actually like I was lost. I had no idea where I was going. And then Ali'i, she's the actress that plays Janice and also Moana. She voices her, She was the one who helped me find where I was supposed to go on set. So everyone was just like super, super nice, super willing to help. And I mean, it was so cool. We filmed it out in Red Bank, New Jersey, at this abandoned school. It was called Modern Day Prep, I think. I can't remember the name, and I think I'm allowed to say that. I mean, I don't know what it is I am and I'm not, but yeah, I got to meet just about all of the main cast. I don't think I met Phoebe, who plays Gretchen. You know, I think, yeah. But outside of that, I think I met just about everyone, and I got to talk to Tina Fey and Tim Meadows. But I think the coolest thing about filming Mean Girls was the spring fling, because we all grew up watching movies about like high school proms and dances and stuff like that. And we're like, wow, these are so amazing. And then when we get to our own high school prom and dances, we're like, yeah, this is okay. You know, it's nothing like nothing extravagant, but it's nice. It's nice.
Always better in the
So
movies.
when I was on set for the spring fling, I was like, holy cow. I'm in a high school. I'm at a high school dance in a movie. Like this is a movie high school dance. Like they had the streamers, like big signs, a disco ball hanging down, just lights going out. I mean, it was just the craziest thing to see in real life.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
I'd love to hear a little about like you kind of were saying about how everyone was so kind and everyone's so like welcoming. I'd love to kind of hear about the elements that you found that were on a film set professionally that are so universal that indie films can adopt. You know, like what did you feel that like, okay, if indie films did this, this would feel professional. This would be awesome. Like what did you take away from that experience that you would take to an indie?
Right. Okay. I think. And this is a tricky question because just about every indie production you do will be different.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing is to make sure the team you're working with has the same terminology that they work with, and it's important to drill setup, because that's one of the things with higher quality, like higher budget films, is they have a lot more equipment, which means it takes a lot more time to set up. But when you're working with a team that knows exactly what they're doing, you can be like, oh, I need a light here at a high angle down or something like that. Because I think there was one day when I was on set that I was sitting in the honey wagon, which is like the little trailer, for like 11 hours before doing anything.
Wow.
So
Wow.
the days are very long, and it's very important to make sure you know exactly what you do. So pre-production is everything. It's very difficult to jump into a film with no plan. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that and
That's
have a slate. Use a slate.
yes. Yeah. That's a great kind of advice. And I'd love to ask one more thing, Mike, before you go. Is I guess in that sense, I guess it can be the same answer. But is there anything else that you would take away that you learned, just personally as an actor from that film set?
I mean, it's something that people like always say, but be kind to people, because that is something that everyone will remember. When you only and I was only there for a short amount of time, like comparatively. They've been filming that movie for 2 months by the time that I'd gotten there, and it's been a process of like 2 years. So when you're on set, someone like me, for only a small amount of time, people will remember the interaction they've had with you. Because if you've only interacted with them one or two times, and both times have been kind of standoffish, a little rude, that's all people are going to remember about you. And then in the future, when they ask, oh, hey, what was it like working with so-and-so? They don't have much to pull from other than you were probably maybe standoffish or rude. So it's very important to be kind to people.
Yeah.
Kindness is what people remember.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So you're talking about how you were in a trailer for 11 hours. So what were you doing? Filming TikToks? Doing anything
Oh
fun?
gosh. No, what did I do? I brought a deck of cards with me.
Yeah.
I wandered around, watched what they were doing on set, because it's also important to watch how people work on set.
Oh, 100%.
In regards to what I would take away, because I mean, you learn so much on how to make a film just by watching. There's
Totally.
so much that I can't really say everything. Um, but yeah, I brought a deck of cards with me, and it was unfortunate because the trailer was placed in a position where there was like no cell service,
Oh, wow.
and it's about the size of like a large walk-in closet.
Mm.
Um, I ate a lot of food. They have snacks. Oh my gosh! By the way, the catering, amazing. There,
Yeah?
there was one day, 1 or 2 days that they had like this like shrimp tempura on set, and the shrimp was like this big. Like it was the biggest shrimp I've ever like. I can't get over the food. The food was so amazing on set.
Yeah.
I would talk to some of my castmates that were in like the adjacent trailers when they were outside because I sat outside a bunch. It was really nice weather because this was in like I think March last
Okay.
year, March April, something like that. Um, but yeah, it's just sitting and waiting. That is
Yeah.
one of the biggest things with acting because just about every single job I've worked on, the majority of it is sitting in your trailer and waiting.
Right.
Yeah. For
But I
sure.
encourage people. I encourage people to go out and walk around and watch what they're doing on set. Watch your fellow actors, learn from them, watch what they're, why they get the shots they do. Because then,
Hmm.
again, it's just with fitting into the machine that you're a part of. Like you want to know what the purpose of your shot is and how it moves the story along.
Totally.
And you can always learn something, you know? That's my
Yes.
biggest thing. You may think you know something, and then 5 minutes later they do something. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, now I can apply that to, my craft or, whatever it may be. Sorry, but you were talking about cards. Do you know how to do magic tricks?
I I know how to do maybe like one or two, but
Yeah?
other than that, I was just shuffling. Like
Okay.
it was just a way to pass the time because
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
really
funny.
have like there's no space to really play. I did play cards once. I not the same day that I was in the trailer for 11 hours, but I remember playing with some of my castmates. We played I think it was like Go Fish or something, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
it was such a fun time. It was so fun. It was such a great group of people, and it's like I still am very much in like contact with a bunch of them. And it's nice to be friends with people that are like very like-minded. It's very refreshing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, I can also attest to like we now I work on a TV set during the day, and we don't have craft services as intense as a film set, but we do have like full breakfast usually, and then like snacks for a day. So I can yeah I can attest that craft services is definitely one of the best parts of being on a film set or TV set. But I just want to transition to our last topic of today, which is stunt work, which is kind of really kind of a passion of yours that you mentioned to me, and I would love to bring it up so you could kind of discuss like where did that stunt aspiration come from? Have you taken kind of classes, steps towards that goal of yours? Talk a little about that.
Right. So I think stunt work is probably what got me into acting to begin with. I guess you can kind of say because whenever I would watch movies at home, I would like when there was fight scenes. Like I was like, yeah, of course I'm gonna do that right now. Like I'm gonna jump off from the balcony onto the couch or like, um, just pretend that I'm fighting whatever. Uh, and I think my interest is because my mom was like, whenever I would be doing something causing trouble, she'd be like, "You got to leave what happens on the screen in the screen." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll just go in the screen too." So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, I've been working on putting that stuff together. Well, I've been wanting to put that stuff together for the longest time. I've been working to put that stuff together probably since the summer after. No, I would even say I started working on that when I was in high school. At least the start of me performing stunts. But I didn't actually start putting them on film until maybe the summer after my senior year in high school and like my freshman year of college. Uh, but yeah, I train just about every day, for multiple hours a day, just staying in. If it's not with like technique work or just martial arts, because I train at the moment boxing, Muay Thai, and then Luta, which is like grappling. And so yeah, if I'm not training technique, then I'm just doing conditioning, which is just to stay in shape so that I can move. Because I train function, so it's not like I'm not like a bodybuilder where I'm like massive. So I try to keep a relatively like smaller, nimble physique so that I'm able to complete different things. But yeah, I love to choreograph fights, film them, just everything in that realm of fights, weapons, and stuff like that. And I'm actually
Cool.
developing. Hopefully I can get it to work. But I would like to film kind of like a mock pilot episode. I say mock because I don't plan on making an entire series, but I would like to make a TV pilot where it's like following me, and it's like a Asian kind of led storyline. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, I think
Nice.
That's
that'd be
awesome.
great.
Cool. All right, that's amazing. That's good to know too about hopefully upcoming things to watch from Grant. Um, that I will definitely be watching. But yeah, and then obviously you can also see his stunt work in the letter when he's running down the streets in in traffic and stuff like that, which is amazing. Um, and uh, and yeah, I think that's our time today with Grant. I really appreciate obviously his time, but more so also his advice to everyone about being kind to everyone on set and how that can go a long way. And I think that advice and that conversation was so valuable to hopefully all of our listeners. But yeah, Grant, definitely keep involved with not only F14, but obviously, as we already know, your amazing craft because you obviously have an amazing talent. And we hope to have you back on the podcast in the near future.
Thank you.